Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window of the Terra Nova and watched the massive space station grow bigger as they approached. The Galactic Council station was huge, bigger than any human city. It spun slowly in space, its metal surface covered with lights from 1,000 different alien ships. "First time seeing something like this, Captain," said Lieutenant Ben Phillips as he joined Morrison at the window. The young officer's eyes were wide with wonder. Morrison nodded. "Makes our ships look pretty small, doesn't it?" Behind them, Ambassador Lisa Carter was reviewing her notes one more time. She had spent months preparing for this meeting. Earth had finally been invited to join the Galactic Council after 50 years of sending messages into space. This was humanity's chance to prove they belonged among the stars. Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan walked over from her station. "All systems are running smooth, Captain. The Terra Nova is ready for whatever they want to see." The ship docked with a soft bump. Morrison straightened his uniform and gathered his crew. Today, Earth would show the galaxy what humans could do. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien beings filled the curved seats that rose up like a giant bowl. Morrison had studied pictures of the different species, but seeing them in person was something else entirely. The Zilithians looked like walking crystals, tall and thin with bodies that seemed to be made of blue glass. When they moved, light bounced off them in strange patterns. The Vorthan Empire representatives were completely different. They had 6 arms each, and their skin looked like metal plates. Their eyes glowed red in their strange faces. There were dozens of other species, too. Some looked like giant insects, others like floating clouds of gas. A few looked almost human, but with purple skin or extra eyes. All of them turned to stare. As the small human group walked to their assigned seats, Ambassador Carter stood up when their turn came to speak. She activated a hologram projector, and images of Earth's space fleet appeared in the center of the chamber. "Fellow beings of the Council," Carter began, "Earth is proud to present our contribution to galactic defense and exploration." The hologram showed the USS Liberty, Earth's largest warship. It was a massive ship, over 2 miles long, with thick armor plating and rows of weapons. To human eyes, it looked powerful and impressive. The reaction from the aliens was immediate. A sound filled the chamber that could only be described as laughter, though it came in clicks, buzzes, and strange musical tones from the different species. High Counselor Zexthara of the Zilithians stood up. When the crystal being spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. These vessels appear to be constructed from basic metal alloys. Do humans still rely on chemical propulsion systems? More laughter echoed through the chamber. Morrison felt his jaw tighten, but kept his face calm. General Clixmore of the Vorthan Empire raised 4 of his 6 arms. "Our cargo ships move faster than these primitive craft. How do you expect to help defend against real threats with such old technology?" Commander Alex Torres, Earth's military attaché, stepped forward. "Our ships may not be the fastest, but they're built to last. Human engineering focuses on reliability and adaptability." This brought even more laughter. An insect-like alien from the Hive Collective clicked rapidly. "Reliability? We have seen your maximum speed records. Our children's training ships move twice as fast." Ambassador Carter tried to explain. "Speed isn't everything. Our ships have served us well for decades. They're tough, dependable, and our crews know them inside and out." "Museum pieces," laughed another alien. "Do you still use gunpowder weapons too?" Lieutenant Ben Phillips clenched his fists. Beside him, Kate Sullivan looked like she wanted to punch something. Even calm Ryan Clark, their navigator, had red cheeks from anger. The hologram changed to show the Terra Nova's specifications. Morrison watched as the aliens continued to mock every detail. The fusion engines were called quaint. The armor plating was adorably thick. The weapon systems were charmingly simple. High Counselor Zextharas' crystal body flashed with what the humans learned was amusement. Perhaps Earth's civilization has regressed since achieving spaceflight? These designs look like something from our early historical period. General Clixmore made a gesture with all 6 arms that was clearly dismissive. We appreciate Earth's enthusiasm, but the Council requires members with real military capability. The Void Reapers are no threat for children's toys. Ambassador Carter's face stayed professional, but Morrison could see the hurt in her eyes. Earth's fleet has protected our system for 50 years without a single successful invasion. Against what? Laughed the Hive Collective representative. Space pirates? Asteroid storms? The formal vote came quickly. Earth was classified as a developing civilization and granted only observer status. No military alliance. No technology sharing. No real membership in the galactic community. As the Terra Nova undocked from the station, the human crew was quiet. Morrison stood again at the window, watching the alien ships zip around the station at speeds his ship could never match. Captain, Kate Sullivan said softly, "Those ships really are faster than ours." "Yeah," Morrison replied. "They are." Lieutenant Phillips joined them. "Makes you wonder what we're doing out here." Before Morrison could answer, the communication system buzzed. Ryan Clark's voice came over the speakers from the bridge. "Captain, we're getting emergency broadcasts from the Outer Rim. Multiple star systems under attack." Morrison hurried to the bridge with his officers. The main screen showed a map of the galaxy with red warning symbols spreading like fire. "What's the situation?" Morrison asked. Clark looked pale. "It's the Void Reapers. Sir, they've started a new campaign. 3 systems completely destroyed in the last week. The aliens are saying their fleets can't stop them." Morrison stared at the spreading red markers. Each one represented billions of lives lost. What about the Galactic Council's response? "They're pulling back their fleets to defend core worlds," Clark reported, "abandoning the outer colonies." Kate Sullivan shook her head. So much for their advanced technology. Ambassador Carter appeared on the bridge, having heard the reports. "The same council that just rejected us is now facing something their superior ships can't handle." Morrison made a decision. "Set course for Earth, best speed. We need to report." This to Admiral Nelson. As the Terra Nova turned toward home, Morrison thought about the alien laughter still echoing in his mind. Their ships were faster, their technology more advanced, their weapons more powerful. But speed and power didn't seem to be enough against the Void Reapers. Maybe, Morrison thought, there was more to space combat than the aliens realized. Maybe humanity's primitive approach had value they couldn't see. The Terra Nova flew through space toward Earth, carrying news of galactic war and alien defeat. Behind them, the great council station grew smaller, its lights dimming in the distance like dying stars. 3 months had passed since the embarrassing meeting at the Galactic Council. Dr. Susan Hayes wiped sweat from her forehead as she stood in the deep excavation pit on Kepler 442b. The dead planet held secrets that her team had been uncovering for weeks. "Dr. Hayes, you need to see this," called Dr. Matt Robinson from deeper in the ruins. His voice echoed strangely in the underground chamber they had discovered. Susan climbed down the metal ladder, her boots clanging on each rung. "Doctor." Amy Foster was already down there, running her hands over strange symbols carved into black stone walls. "The writing is definitely pre-galactic," Amy said without looking up. "This predates anything the current alien civilizations have records of." The chamber was massive, bigger than a football stadium. Strange machines lined the walls, their purposes unknown. Everything was made from materials that human scanners couldn't identify. But what caught Susan's attention was the center of the room. A large table made of the same black stone held dozens of holographic displays. When Matt approached them, the displays activated automatically, showing images that made Susan's heart race. Are those ... double quotes Susan started to say? Human ship designs, Matt finished. But these plans are millions of years old. The holographic blueprints showed detailed schematics of ships that looked exactly like Earth's current fleet. The USS Liberty, the Terra Nova, even smaller patrol vessels. All of them were displayed with precise technical specifications. Amy moved to another display. Look at this. It's showing Earth, but from space. The planet looks different, younger. Somehow, Susan studied the images carefully. These aren't just ship designs. They're construction guides. See these notes along the side? They're explaining how to build human technology. Matt activated another display. This one shows human DNA, and it's been modified. Someone or something has been changing human genetics for thousands of years. The implications hit Susan like a physical blow. Someone guided human development. They wanted us to build these specific ships. But who? Amy asked. And why? Their answer came from the far wall. As they explored deeper, they found more chambers filled with records. The beings who built this place called themselves the architects. They had vanished millions of years before the first galactic civilizations arose. According to the records, the architects had been the galaxy's guardians until an ancient enemy called the Void Reapers had nearly destroyed them. Before disappearing, they had set up a plan. They would guide the development of a new species that could one day take their place. They chose humans, Susan said, reading the translated text. But why us? Amy pointed to another section of text. It says here that humans have something other species lack: emotional depth combined with logical thinking. The architect's technology responds to both logic and feelings working together. Matt was studying technical diagrams. These aren't just ship plans. They're activation sequences. The technology has been dormant, waiting for humans to discover how to turn it on. Susan immediately contacted Captain Morrison, who was leading a small exploration fleet in the same sector. The Terra Nova arrived within hours, along with 2 other ships. Morrison examined the architect facility with amazement. You're telling me that our ships are based on alien technology from millions of years ago? Not just based on, Susan explained. They are architect technology. Every major breakthrough in human space development was guided by dormant systems that slowly released information as we proved ready for it. Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan studied the activation procedures with Dr. Robinson. This is incredible. Our fusion drives, our hull compositions, even our weapon systems, they all have hidden capabilities we never knew about. Lieutenant Ben Phillips looked at the holographic displays showing Earth's fleet. So when the aliens mocked our ships, ... they were mocking technology more advanced than anything they've ever seen. Susan finished. They just didn't know it. Was sleeping. The news from the galaxy had grown worse during the 3 months. The Void Reapers had destroyed 12 star systems. The same alien fleets that had laughed at human ships were being systematically destroyed. The Galactic Council's most advanced warships couldn't even slow the ancient machines down. High Counselor Zexthara had sent desperate messages to Earth, begging for any assistance humanity could provide. General Clixmore of the Vorthan Empire had offered to share all their technology in exchange for Earth's help. The aliens who had dismissed humans as primitive were now pleading for salvation. Morrison read the latest reports on his bridge. 17 Zilithian worlds lost. The Vorthan capital is under siege. How many dead so far? Navigator Ryan Clark checked his console. Conservative estimates put the casualties at over 50 billion beings. Kate Sullivan looked up from the architect. Technical manuals. Captain, if these activation procedures work, our ships won't just be better. They'll be in a completely different class from anything else in the galaxy. What do you mean? Morrison asked. Dr. Robinson explained. The architect's technology doesn't just make ships faster or stronger. It allows them to operate outside normal physics. Dimensional travel, quantum weapons, reality phase shields, things that current science says are impossible. Amy Foster had been working on translating more architect records. There's something else. The activation process requires specific human neural patterns. The aliens couldn't use this technology even if they found it. It was designed specifically for us. Morrison made a decision that would change galactic history. Send a message to Admiral Nelson on Earth. Tell him we've found something that might stop the Void Reapers. And tell him we need authorization to activate every ship in the fleet. The message reached Earth within days. Admiral George Nelson reviewed the archaeological findings with Earth's top scientists and military leaders. The evidence was overwhelming. Human ships contained dormant architect technology that could be awakened, but the activation process was dangerous. The architect records warned that improper activation could destroy both ship and crew. It required precise neural synchronization between human consciousness and alien machinery. Nelson faced an impossible choice: authorize the activation and risk destroying Earth's entire fleet, or watch helplessly as the Void Reapers consumed the galaxy and eventually reached human space. Decision came when the Void Reapers destroyed the Zilithian homeworld. 50 billion crystal beings died in a matter of hours, as their most advanced defenses proved useless against the ancient enemy. Nelson's message reached Morrison's fleet with simple orders: activate everything. Earth stands with the galaxy. Susan Hayes stood in the architect facility, reading the activation sequence one more time. Kate Sullivan had connected the Terra Nova systems to the ancient machinery. Lieutenant Phillips manned the weapons console, ready to see what his familiar guns could really do. Morrison sat in his captain's chair, feeling the weight of responsibility. In a few minutes, they would either unlock humanity's true potential or destroy themselves trying. Begin activation sequence, Morrison ordered. The architect machinery hummed to life, energy flowing through systems that had waited millions of years for this moment. Human consciousness touched alien technology, and the galaxy would never be the same. The activation began with a low humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Captain Morrison felt it in his bones as the Terra Nova systems started to change. The familiar bridge around him suddenly felt different, alive in a hive, way it had never been before. Captain, Lieutenant Ben Phillips called out, his voice filled with wonder. My weapons console is changing. The displays are showing systems I've never seen before. Morrison looked at his own command screens. New information was appearing, written in symbols that somehow made perfect sense to him, despite being completely alien. His mind understood the meaning without needing translation. Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. Captain, the fusion reactors are doing something incredible. They're not just producing energy anymore. They're bending space around us. Navigator Ryan Clark stared at his instruments in amazement. Sir, according to these readings, we can now travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly. The old speed limits don't apply anymore. The transformation spread through the ship like ripples in water. Walls that had been simple metal now showed patterns of light flowing beneath the surface. The deck plates hummed with energy that made everyone feel more alert and alive. Morrison stood up and touched the nearest wall. The moment his hand made contact, he felt a connection to the ship, unlike anything he had experienced. The Terra Nova wasn't just a machine anymore. It was an extension of his own thoughts and will. This is incredible, he whispered. Similar changes were happening throughout the human fleet. On the USS Defiance, Captain Lisa Parker watched her defensive systems evolve before her eyes. Shields that had once been simple energy barriers now showed the ability to phase between different dimensions, making her ship nearly impossible to hit. Commander Rick Stone, aboard the USS Thunder, discovered that his conventional missile launchers had become something far more powerful. The new weapons could disrupt the very atoms that held enemy ships together, turning solid matter into harmless gas dot. The news of the transformation spread quickly through human space. Ships that had been docked for repairs suddenly came online, with capabilities that defied understanding. Even the oldest vessels in mothballs awakened with power that made them superior to any alien technology. Admiral Nelson received reports from across the fleet. Every single human ship was transforming. The process was automatic once it began, spreading from ship to ship like a virus of evolution. "Admiral," his aide reported, "we're getting communication requests from the Galactic Council. They want to know what's happening to our fleet." Nelson smiled grimly. "Tell them they're about to see what human ships can really do." The first test came when the Void Reapers attacked the Centauri system. The alien colonists there had been evacuating for days, but their ships were too slow to escape the ancient machines. It looked like another massacre was inevitable. Then the human fleet arrived. Morrison's Terra Nova dropped out of dimensional space right in the middle of the Void Reaper formation. The ancient machines, each the size of a city, immediately turned their weapons on the human ships. Beams of energy that could destroy planets struck the Terra Nova's shields. Nothing happened. The energy simply passed through the ship as if it wasn't there. Morrison had learned to phase his vessel between dimensions, making it impossible for conventional weapons to harm them. "All ships," Morrison commanded, "engage the enemy." What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. Human ships moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. They struck from multiple dimensions simultaneously, their weapons reaching into the very heart of the Void Reaper machines. Lieutenant Phillips fired the Terra Nova's main guns. The weapons no longer shot simple projectiles. They launched packets of controlled destruction that unraveled the enemy's atomic structure. One shot from his console destroyed a Void Reaper, construct that alien fleets had been unable to scratch. The battle lasted only minutes. When it was over, the Void Reapers that had terrorized the galaxy for months were nothing but floating debris. The human fleet had suffered no casualties. News of the victory spread through galactic communication networks within hours. The same aliens who had mocked human ships only months before now watched in stunned silence as humans achieved what their combined fleets could not. High Counselor Zextara's crystal form flickered with emotions the humans were learning to recognize. Fear, amazement, and something that might have been shame. The Zilithian leader sent a direct message to Admiral Nelson. "Admiral Nelson of Earth," the message began, "the Galactic Council formally requests immediate military assistance. We offer full membership, technology sharing, and leadership of our combined fleets." General Clixmore of the Vorthan Empire sent an even more desperate plea. "Human warriors, our empire places itself under your protection. We beg forgiveness for our previous arrogance." Similar messages poured in from across the galaxy. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive now competed to offer the most generous terms for human alliance. Morrison stood on his bridge, reading the communications from alien leaders. The change in tone was complete. Where once there had been laughter and mockery, now there was desperate respect and fear. "Captain," Kate Sullivan said, joining him on the bridge, "I've been studying the architect records more carefully. I think I understand why they chose us." "What do you mean?" "The technology responds to human emotions as much as logic. When Phillips felt protective of the colonists, his weapons became more accurate. When you felt determined to save lives, the ship's shields became stronger. The architects needed beings who could feel as well as think. Morrison nodded slowly. The aliens focus on pure logic and efficiency. They build better engines and stronger weapons, but they miss the human element. Exactly. That's why their technology hit a ceiling. Ours doesn't have limits because it grows with our determination and courage. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Ryan Clark's voice came over the speakers. Captain, we're detecting a massive Void Reaper fleet moving toward the galactic core. This isn't just another attack. It's their main force. Morrison looked at the tactical display. Thousands of Void Reaper constructs were converging on the heart of galactic civilization. If they succeeded, every major world would be destroyed. Signal. A fleet, Morrison ordered. All ships prepare for dimensional jump. We're going to end this war. The human fleet gathered in formation, their ships glowing with architect energy. For the first time in galactic history, the hunters were about to become the hunted. The Void Reapers had awakened something in humanity that they couldn't understand or defeat. The galaxy was about to learn that some sleeping giants should never be disturbed. The human fleet emerged from dimensional space at the edge of the Andromeda Drift, where the main Void Reaper army was gathering. Captain Morrison stared at his tactical display in shock. The enemy force was beyond anything they had imagined. Thousands of Void Reaper constructs filled the space between dead stars. Each machine was massive, some as large as moons, others stretching for hundreds of miles. They moved in perfect formation, harvesting entire solar systems and converting the raw materials into more weapons and ships. Captain, Navigator Ryan, Clark said quietly, there are so many of them. Morrison nodded grimly. The human fleet consisted of less than 200 ships. They were facing an enemy that had been building this army for millions of years. Lieutenant Ben Phillips checked his weapon systems. Sir, even with our new capabilities, the numbers are against us. Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan's voice came from the engine room. Captain, I'm reading something strange. The architect technology is responding to our emotions again. The more determined we become, the stronger our ships get, Morrison understood. The architects hadn't just given humanity advanced technology. They had given them something that grew with their courage and will to protect others. All ships, Morrison announced over the fleet communication system, remember why we're here. Every being in the galaxy is counting on us. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone. The response was immediate. Across the fleet, human crews felt their ships respond to their determination. The Terra Nova's hull began to glow with energy that pulsed in rhythm with Morrison's heartbeat. The Void Reapers detected the human fleet and began to move. Their response was methodical and cold, like the machines they were. They had destroyed countless civilizations and saw no difference between humans and any other species they had encountered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The battle began when the Void Reapers launched their first attack. Beams of energy that could crack planets struck the human formation. But the human ships didn't just defend. They absorbed the energy and became stronger. Captain Lisa Parker of the USS Valor felt her protective instincts flare as she thought about the billions of innocent lives depending on their success. Her ship responded by becoming nearly invulnerable, its shields shifting between dimensions faster than the enemy could track. Commander Rick Stone aboard the USS Thunder felt anger at the destruction he had witnessed in the outer systems. His weapon systems evolved in response, becoming capable of striking targets across multiple realities simultaneously. The human fleet spread out and began their attack. What the Void Reapers expected to be a simple extermination became something entirely different. Human ships moved through space like living things, their actions coordinated by shared emotion and purpose rather than cold logic. Morrison watched as his fleet performed maneuvers that military textbooks said were impossible. Ships appeared inside enemy formations, struck devastating blows, and vanished before the machines could respond. The architect technology had made them more than just advanced. It had made them unpredictable. "Phillips," Morrison called out, "target their command ships. If we can disrupt their coordination, we can break their formation." Ben Phillips felt the weight of responsibility as his fingers moved over the weapons console. His determination to protect his crewmates enhanced his accuracy beyond anything he had achieved before. Every shot found its target, each blast perfectly calculated to cause maximum damage. The tide of battle began to turn. Void Reaper constructs that had seemed invincible started to fall. Their weapons, designed to overwhelm through sheer power, proved ineffective against ships that could phase between dimensions and strike from angles that didn't exist in normal space. Kate Sullivan made a crucial discovery as the battle raged. "Captain, the architect technology is learning from us. Every time we face a new threat, it adapts. We're not just using ancient weapons, we're helping them evolve." This was the key difference between human and alien approaches to technology. The aliens built better machines, but humans formed partnerships with their technology. The architect systems responded to human creativity and emotion in ways that pure logic never could. The largest Void Reaper construct, a machine the size of a small moon, began to move toward the galactic core. If it reached the populated worlds, billions would die within hours. Morrison made a decision that would define the battle. All ships concentrate fire on the primary target. We stop it here, or we don't stop it at all. The human fleet converged on the massive construct. Their combined attack was coordinated not by computers or battle plans, but by shared determination and the emotional bonds between the crews. The Void Reaper machine fought back with weapons that could destroy stars. Energy beams, gravity weapons, and reality distortion fields struck the human fleet. But instead of breaking, the human ships became stronger. Their crews' refusal to give up transformed into raw power that the architect technology channeled into devastating attacks. Lieutenant Phillips coordinated the fleet's weapons, his console showing targeting solutions that seemed to come from intuition rather than calculation. "Fire everything we have," he ordered. The combined firepower of the human fleet struck the massive construct simultaneously. The architect weapons, enhanced by human determination, tore through defenses that had protected the machine for millions of years. The construct began to break apart. Its destruction created a chain reaction that spread through the entire Void Reaper fleet. The machines had been connected by networks that were designed to make them stronger together. But when the central command was destroyed, the network became a weakness. One by one, the Void Reaper constructs shut down. The ancient machines that had terrorized the galaxy for eons fell silent in the space of minutes. Morrison stood on his bridge, hardly believing what his instruments were telling him. The Void Reaper fleet was destroyed. The threat that had seemed insurmountable was over. "Captain," Ryan Clark said in amazement, "we did it. We actually did it." The aftermath of the battle brought a transformed galaxy. The Galactic Council, led by High Counselor Zexthara and General Clixmore, formally established the Galactic Defense Force with human ships as its backbone. The same aliens who had mocked human technology now studied under human engineers and officers. Dr. Susan Hayes continued her research into architect sites, discovering that the galaxy held many more secrets and challenges. The awakened human fleet stood ready to face whatever came next. Admiral Nelson established training programs to help alien crews work alongside human technology. The old barriers between species began to break down as they learned to fight together. Morrison found himself promoted to admiral, commanding a fleet that included both human and alien ships. The Terra Nova became the flagship of a new age of galactic cooperation. The galaxy had learned that true strength came not from technology alone, but from the spirit and determination of those who wielded it. Humanity had proven that sometimes the greatest power comes from what others see as weakness, and that the most advanced weapons are worthless without the heart to use them for protection rather than conquest.